Well, all right, I made you a deal last week. I said that if I got enough emails during the week, that I would let you enjoy your Christmas, and then the Sunday immediately after Christmas, I would teach on the traditions of Christmas. And I guess I spurred some sort of curiosity out there because I got plenty of emails. So apparently lots of people would like to know why it is that we do the things we do every year around December 25th. So that's what we're going to talk about this morning. We're going to take a little break from our verse-by-verse exposition of Luke, and we're going to talk about Christmas this morning. So now that you've had your Christmas celebration, and you've gotten all your gifts, and you've done all your stuff, and you've eaten lots of turkey, now we can talk about the traditions without offending anybody, because you have a whole year to basically get over it. Okay? Okay, good. I saw perhaps the most bizarre Christmas thing. I was talking to Brent on the phone up in Chicago, and I have satellite TV, so I hit the little guide to see what's on, and I saw that VH1 was just playing Christmas music. So I said, okay, let's see what that is. So I flip over to Christmas music. Now I've got the volume down, and all I see is this white-robed choir standing among red poinsettias with the green ivy leaves, which I will show you in a few minutes, all come straight from Babylon. And standing in the middle of them singing a song is Neil Diamond, who himself is Jewish, which seemed odd to me and struck my curiosity. I wondered, gee, what sort of Christmas song could Neil Diamond be singing? So I turn up the volume, and he's singing, "Morning has broken like the first morning," which is not a Christmas song. It is, in fact, a song written by Cat Stevens, who earlier this year was not allowed back into the United States because he is a radical Muslim. Let's put the pieces together for a moment. VH1 was playing a choir standing in a Babylonish setting with a Jewish guy singing a song written by a radical Muslim for Christmas. And everybody was fine with this. No one cared because we just love our traditions. You're not supposed to ask questions where these sort of traditions are concerned. I personally don't like the hypocrisy that I see in the church world, where at the end of every October, they go absolutely ballistic about Halloween, because Halloween is obvious. They say, oh, Halloween, bad, pumpkins, devils, trick-or-treat, dressing up, All Saints' Eve, Halloween, bad. And 2 months later, we'll utterly and completely embrace the Christ Mass, which has every bit, if not more, connection to ancient Babylon than Halloween ever did, but they will embrace it.
The Christ Mass on TV.
Pardon me?
They were from Rome.
From Rome, the Christ Mass was being shown on TV, absolutely. And that's precisely what it is. When you say the word Christmas, it is a conjunction of two Latin words, the Christ Mass. Christe Masse is actually it. Now, you need to know that the word Mass comes from the word masa, which are round barley cakes baked to the Queen of Heaven, mentioned in the Old Testament as a don't do. Don't participate in cooking cakes to the Queen of Heaven. The sign of the Queen of Heaven in much of ancient Babylonish culture is this sign right here. It looks like a cross. It's actually a T standing for Tammuz, and it has the sun behind it. And so, you were once Catholic, yes? Those of you who grew up Catholic probably remember that at the Mass, what do? They hand you a little round wafer with that symbol on it, coming straight from Babylon, handed down straight from the Catholic Church directly to you. And you're not supposed to question that. You're supposed to just do it. Well, I'm the sort of guy who goes around and questions those sort of things, wants to know why we do these sort of things. And I think that if the church is going to rise up against Halloween because of its pagan influence and roots, we ought to equally rise up against rise up against Christmas and say, well, it is also equally pagan, and recognize it for what it is. It's easy for most of us to figure out that Jesus could not have been born on December 25th. Just the basic details tell you that. It says that in the field there were shepherds watching their flocks by night. Go to Israel in December, there are no shepherds watching flocks by night. It's too cold. It was cold then, it's cold now. You can look on our website and read in the Christmas Q&A, where I take the time to lay out how you can figure out the birth of Christ, given the chronology in the book of Luke. He was probably born in late September. probably right around Feast of Trumpets, which would explain why there was no room at the inn. So what I'm going to do this morning, what the plan is this morning, it would be easy for me to stand up here and just say, this, and this, but you could say, well, a lot of that is Jim's opinion. And I know that normally I just kind of speak extemporaneously, and you guys go, well, I assume Jim knows what he's talking about. We'll take him at his word. This morning I have a gang of notes. I'll try to get through them in an hour. I'm going to be doing a lot of reading, and I'm going to read other people, other authorities, everything from encyclopedias to books that have been around for hundreds of years. And nothing, I'm here to tell you, nothing I say to you this morning cannot be corroborated by you just taking the time to go and research the exact same stuff I did. It's very available. It's all over the internet. Do a Google search on History of Christmas, and you will find everything I'm going to tell you this morning. The problem is people don't want to hear the stuff I'm going to tell you this morning because it does pull the rug out from under our comfortable traditions. And you know that I am, when it comes to Christianity, I am an anti-traditionalist. I am very much a fool for sound doctrine. And I will say at the end, I'm going to say it now, and I'll say it again at the end, I'm not the great Scrooge, I'm not the great cosmic killjoy. Yesterday I got together with my brother and sister-in-law and my nieces and my mom, and we ate turkey and chocolate goodies, and we exchanged gifts, and we had a very nice time. But I've never taught my children Santa Claus. I've never taught them anything about St. Nicholas, who we will talk about this morning, give you some of the history of, because I never wanted them to be able to question whether or not Dad told them the truth. And when they come to me and say, Dad, is there a God? And I look them in the eye and say, yes. And they say, did Jesus live and did he die on a tree? And I say, yes. I don't ever want that to be confounded by, is there a fat man who comes down the chimney and leaves me gifts every year? And I say, yes. If I equally say yes to that, and I say, yes, there's a Jesus, and yes, there's a God, when I take away Santa Claus, the next thing they're going to ask is, well, then what about God? Because, you know, as a kid, when my mom, who's sitting in the back of the room this morning, when my mom told me there is no Santa Claus, right, I asked you, is there a God? Because from my perspective, Santa Claus had proof. He brought me stuff. Right? What did God ever do for me? Santa brought me stuff. We would leave cookies and milk out, and he would eat the cookies and milk. He liked the cookies and milk. We did things for him. He did things for us. This was a fair exchange. But God, that was too wide a concept for me to grasp. So I decided, because of my own difficulties as a child dealing with the God Santa Claus question, that I wouldn't teach that to my children. And then as I've become an adult and have done the research into the customs and why we talk about Santa Claus, I no longer in good conscience can bring the concept of Santa Claus into my house. Okay, so that's the stuff we're going to talk about this morning. But like always, you know, churches just love their traditions. Church is built by and large on tradition. And it's very hard to get them to let go of their tradition. It's very hard to get America to let go of its tradition, because I just read a report on the internet. Most retailers this year, Walmart, Sears, the big retailers, do a third of their total sales volume between Halloween and Christmas. What does that mean? That means that the American economy is absolutely dependent at this point on Christmas. So you're not going to get them to give it up. Nor do I think I'm going to be able to change the world by standing up here and telling them the truth. But I think it's worthwhile that we know the truth. And then I will leave it up to you and your individual conscience to raise your family the way you see fit. Okay? I won't be coming over to your house and tearing down your manger scenes. Okay? Except the one in my neighborhood where they have a manger scene with the shepherds over the Christ child in an open manger. You know that he wasn't in an open manger, right? He was in a grotto. A manger in those days was a cave underneath a dwelling where animals could be put at night to be warm, but they could also cover the front of it to keep the animals in there. How do you keep animals in an open manger like the type you see in the front of most people's yards? It doesn't even make sense. But anyways, they had the shepherds in there. They had the wise men in there. Wise men were never at the manger. Get that in your head. They were never at the manger. I don't care how many Christmas